James Mangold is back with his brand new film starring Timothée Chalamet called A Complete Unknown. This takes place in the early 1960s where 19-year-old Bob Dylan arrives in New York City with his guitar and revolutionary talent, destined to change the course of American music and forming his most intimate relationships during his rise to fame. He grows restless with the folk movement, making a controversial choice that changes his entire career worldwide. Now, A Complete Unknown is a film that I think many people have been looking forward to. It seems like James Mangold's been trying to get this off the ground for a while. Vice versa, it feels like Timothée Chalamet was casted in this years ago. And honestly, for a while, I never thought that this was actually going to get made. A lot of different things, mostly to that degree, is that I just also didn't know if Timothée Chalamet would be able to pull off Bob Dylan. Sure, I could see the look, but it's the voice and the singing that I was the most curious on. And when you have a director like James Mangold, who already did a phenomenal job with Walk the Line, and Joaquin Phoenix absolutely crushed it and became Johnny Cash, I wanted to see Timothée Chalamet bring that same reverence, especially after we just got done seeing Austin Butler completely transform into Elvis Presley. From the voice to the movement to everything of that nature, I was curious to see if Chalamet was going to be able to do the same, and all those worries faded away within the first 10 minutes. I want to start this review by just completely and utterly saying that Timothée Chalamet delivers his best performance of his career so far. And this is as someone who loves him in almost everything he's already done. He was fantastic in Wonka. He's phenomenal in Dune and Dune Part 2. He is amazing. If you still have never seen A Beautiful Boy, I highly recommend it. Still probably his second best performance now to date. Call Me By Your Name. I mean, the list goes on and on. The guy shows up in something and he is utterly stupendous, phenomenal, incredible. And A Complete Unknown just absolutely riveted me to no end. From his performance to the direction, this is one of my favorite movies of the year, and I'm so excited to be sitting here talking about it. So make sure to leave your thoughts down below, hit that like and subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get back to the review and talk a little bit more about this. So just a little bit of a preface, because people might be wondering, are you a Bob Dylan fan? Is this going to be great for Bob Dylan fans? I can't like say yes or no to that, because I didn't grow up with his music. There were certain songs that definitely my dad would play, but it wasn't like a consistent thing where, yeah, this is the Bob Dylan you have to listen to. And for me, leading up to this movie, I was watching interviews, I was watching footage, of course I was listening to his music, just to kind of get into the vibe and understand and make sure that I'm looking at it from the right point of view, and to make sure that Timothée Chalamet is doing a great job. And from what I did listen to and what I did watch, yeah, Chalamet just accomplished that. Like I already stated at the start of this review, he's phenomenal. To just like, whether it's his mannerisms, whether it's his voice, which the voice is like scary good at how close it is, but it's also the singing. He's so good, and he also plays guitar. Phenomenal. All these live performances and all these musical sequences, like easily, like if Timothée Chalamet is not nominated at the Oscars for Best Actor, I'll be shocked. And for me, like if I was voting at the Oscars, he might take the award for me this year. It's wild because Ralph Fiennes was also incredible in Conclave, and there's quite a few other incredible performances too. But for some reason, Timothée Chalamet, maybe it's recency bias, is just sticking with me ever since I've seen the film. I also think the cast around him also solidifies this movie as a whole. Because if I were to jump to some of my issues or just kind of nitpicks that I have, but I could see potentially other people really not liking, is sometimes the film is a little bit low and lacking on story. Sometimes it does just focus more on the mundane tasks of a performer. And also, in reality, it is, for me, it gets a little repetitive sometimes. But I kind of feel like an artist's life at times. You do this, you do that, you do this. You revert that and you do this, you do this, you do this. And I think you can tell that part of that is what made Bob Dylan transfer from acoustic to electric. And I'm happy that they were able to showcase that, but I can see it getting under some people's toes. But for me, like, usually I would have an issue where I'd be like, and that's not really my cup of tea, specifically at a film that's almost 2.5 hours. But then when I just see these performances, other than just Chalamet, I was honestly floored by how riveted I was. Elle Fanning is phenomenal in this as well. Monica Barbaro, I thought was even more incredible as Joan Bence. as Joan. I think seriously enough, like her singing, her performance, every little nuance she gave to this just could have stolen the whole entire show. Even Edward Norton as Pete Seeger absolutely blew my mind. Like, I forgot that this was Edward Norton. Like, that's how good these performances are, is you just forget what actors playing them. Like, they completely chameleonize themselves into these roles. But I think the one, and this is the one that actually has like the least amount of screen time, but still fucking blew my mind, and that's Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash. Now, yes, it would have been cool if he got like Joaquin Phoenix to come back, do the voice, all that stuff. But like, genuinely enough, like Boyd Holbrook like sounds amazing. And it's the voice, but I'm also curious to know if Boyd did the singing too. If he didn't, I wouldn't be shook. But if he did, that's even more impressive. The most impressive part about A Complete Unknown comes down to James Mangold's direction and writing. Now, James Mangold for me is just one of those directors that anytime the guy makes a movie, I'm basically a fan of. Sometimes I'll go in very skeptical, but then I walk away going, wow, that was fucking great. And that's crazy to think of the guy who made Logan even criticizing or being worried about a film that he would make. But for me, like, as someone, again, who didn't grow up with Bob Dylan, I didn't know how much this film would intrigue me or interest me, but it riveted me in almost every sequence. And again, a lot of that could be the performances, because some of the film does just focus on the mundane tasks of a performer. But what I really liked that James Mangold focused on was Bob Dylan. And yes, that's the whole point of it, but truly enough, his career. Not just the man, but really much, it's kind of a personal tale of the musical industry itself and how much artists like to change up things. I mean, truly enough, if you look at talented artists and how much throughout their career, if you just map it out, how many of them actually changed course or tried something different, whether their fans and audience members liked it or not, I feel like we usually see artists shift or change to a different perspective. And as I mentioned, this film really much showcases him switching from acoustic to electric. And I think we see a lot of that in the music industry, whether it's Kid Cudi or most notably like right now, Post Malone, who went from rap to country. It's fascinating for me to see artists shift and change into what genres they're in, or particularly what they're doing. And to see it like real time, like spending all this time with Bob Dylan and seeing that frustration and seeing the course that changed that, it makes you interested in understanding more of why artists do what they have to do. The same thing even goes to like YouTube, people who make videos. How many times have you seen a creator shift and change their perspective of what they decided to do on this platform? Some days I go back and forth on like what I actually want to create on content other than just movie review. For me, like, that's something that I felt was inspirational. And again, the film does such a great job of building all of that up and of building up Bob Dylan himself, even for people who don't know much about him. I think that's for me what won me over, is how riveted I was from this entire film. And then last but not least, the musical sequences, every single one was great. Again, some of that ties back to the performances, but as well as ties back to James Mangold's incredible direction and his eye for cinema. Specifically, certain shots, the cinematography in here is just grand. There are certain shots and usages of mirrors that is just so like subtle detail, but adds so much to a scene, specifically with how cramped some of these rooms can be with these artists, that really just, I don't know. At one point, I actually got a tear in my eye, and I didn't fucking understand why. Personally understand why is A Complete Unknown is one of the best movies of 2024. It is a riveting, modest, and not afraid to showcase the mundane biopic that compelled me to no end with its journey through acoustic to electric in Bob Dylan's career, and just overall showcasing who was this legend. Timothée Chalamet, for me, gives the best performances of his career so far, and I think James Mangold needs to be congratulated on directing one of his best movies yet. But after walking away, I just fell in love with this film, and it was a movie that I was, again, anticipating to like, but didn't expect to love. It's not going to be for everybody. I could see some people being a little bit disappointed, and I'm more curious to see what Bob Dylan fans think. You won't like about how repetitive the movie is, or maybe you won't be a fan of the length, but for me, this film just won me over in almost nearly every department, and I'm so happy to be giving A Complete Unknown an A. Thank you so much again for watching this. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts. I love this time of year. It just seems like we get so many great movies, and it's so exciting to talk about so many of them. So thank you so much again, and of course, until next time, stay classy.